tonight's broadcast with a developing story from Genoa City on the campus of MCND Community College, where we have just learned that the board of directors has declined to hear from a group of faculty concerning MCND's credit efficiency initiative. You may remember that we first broke this story 11 months ago when the State Board for Technical Colleges issued a mandate that all associate degree programs should be limited to no more than 70 credits. And although Wisconsin has 16 technical colleges, this mandate only applied to the 5 colleges which offer the associate's degree, and that includes MCND. Shortly after that ruling, the college made the decision to limit all associate degree credit programs to 60 credits or fewer, and that is what has caused this current situation. 2 of MCND's programs are over the credit limit, so the college has had to decide how to get down to 60 credits. The administration says that the procedure was followed, but the faculty say it was not, and the students and community members are upset because they say they were not involved in the decision making. We have Claudia Leona out in the field to get to the bottom of this.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm here on the MCND campus with Coach Lambo. You might say she is the one who got this whole discussion started. Here's what she told us.
Hey there, I'm Coach Lambo, and I'm here to tell you about the phys ed class and why it's so important that we keep this graduation requirement. This class is one of the most popular classes on campus with the 14th highest enrollment and the 7th highest pass rate. That's not because it's an easy A, but it's because the students really get into this class. Now, our mission at this college is to transform lives, and our community is struggling with poor health outcomes due to our inactivity in Wisconsin and our poor diet of beer and cheese. Therefore, in my class, Introduction to Nutrition and Fitness, I help the students to learn how to take control of their health. So for example, if they're a heavy beer drinker like many of us are in Wisconsin, I recommend that they try to incorporate some fruits and vegetables in their diet by every once in a while mixing things up by ordering a Bloody Mary. Then you get the celery and the pickles and the onions, and there's a lot of fiber in that. So, that's just one of those suggestions for lifelong learning, incorporating health into your daily life. On the other hand, we have to look at the activity levels of our students and help them embrace activities that they can just make a part of their daily life. So for example, maybe our students are heavy dart players. They like to play darts at the taverns around here. So, maybe they're just a one-armed dart player, but by the end of my class, maybe they become an ambidextrous dart player. And that way they can get the full upper body workout with their dart playing. Another activity that's very popular here in Wisconsin is football. And our students love to play football in my class, and they get pretty good at it by the end. I've had some scouts from the Green Bay Packers looking to recruit directly out of my classes. And I think the administration should really take a look at that, because instead of cutting physical ed from the requirement, why don't they cut some of that liberal arts? Our mission is to transform lives. And what could be more transformative than getting a call from the Green Bay Packers? I think it would be a lot more transformative than reading a book. So my final thought for you all is, go Pack.
Thank you, Coach Lambo. The question of whether to reduce or eliminate the Phy Ed credit requirement went to the Faculty Senate, but when that group recommended that no changes be made, the issue went to the Dean. Our sources tell us that the Dean did not support the recommendation. We tracked down Dean Martin, and here is what she told us.
I am the Dean of Liberal Arts, Dean Martin. The 64 credit associate's degree is no longer a viable option. The large credit requirement places an undue burden on students, and the state has stepped in to force our hand on this. We must reduce credit somewhere. The committee's recommendation that we simply ignore the state's mandate is not an option. To do so would take us out of compliance, and it would also be morally unacceptable to put the future of our institution and our students in jeopardy. There has been much confusion surrounding this issue. We did not remove this class. We simply removed it as a graduation requirement. Students can still take this class as an elective. The truth of the matter is, we have a procedure for making curriculum modifications, and that procedure was followed. Our process of governance works extremely well at other areas of the college, but for some reason, every time this process involves faculty and curriculum, it is always problematic.
Jessica, I also had the chance to speak with some of the students, and surprisingly, they said they do not all agree. And some say they weren't even involved in the decision-making process.
Hi, excuse me. Are you a student at MCND Technical College, and what is your name?
Yeah, I am. My name is Daryl Washington. I'm the son of Kenzel Washington, Hollywood actor. Why, what's up?
So let me ask you, what do you think about the college getting rid of its physical education requirement for graduation?
No, I think you're actually the first person to ask me about that. And yeah, where's the student voice in that? I took that class probably, I think it was my second semester, and I got an A in that class.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I didn't get an A, that class was dope. You know, I met all kinds of friends in that class. I started going to parties. I went to game days. That class was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even if they decided to get rid of that class, I think I might just call my dad. You know, he paid a lot of money to that college. I think he should have some influence in that decision, right?
Thank you.
Can you tell us about the GYMS courses discussion on campus that is happening these days?
Well, this lady came to our class and gave us a survey about it, and I told them they should get rid of the class. I took it my first semester, and it made me so mad to mess up my hair and makeup and having to walk around all stinky all day. I'm glad it's gone. I wish they had done that before I took the class. Do you know if anyone is looking into English classes? I feel like they should be the next ones.
Jessica, we want to thank those students for their input, but we wanted to talk to MCND's provost, since he is the chief academic officer, and this issue falls under his umbrella. And the provost gave us this information.
Good afternoon. I am Dr. Thurston Howe III, the Chief Academic Officer and Provost at MCND's Technical College in Wisconsin. Here at our college, we practice a shared governance approach in college decision making. Shared governance does not mean that decisions are made by consensus or majority vote, but rather input is sought and considered before decisions are made on governance-related matters. The recent recommendation and supporting evidence from the college's Credit Review Task Force and the Liberal Arts and Sciences Curriculum, Learning, and Assessment Committee to maintain the physical education requirements of 3 credits for an associate in arts degree requires students to complete 2 additional credit hours for an associate in arts degree, exceeding the state mandated maximum of 60 credits. Inasmuch as we appreciate their recommendation, the following information was also considered. Number 1, these physical education required courses do not count toward transfer credits within our state's 4-year UW system. Number 2, students would still have the option of taking the physical education courses as electives, just not as a requirement for graduation. And 3, the physical education credits do not align to MCND's institutional priority of delivering credentials that lead to high wage earning jobs. Based on the consideration of this information, the President's Council rejected the Credit Review Task Force and the Liberal Arts and Sciences Curriculum, Learning, and Assessment Committee's recommendation, and instead will make a recommendation to the board to reduce the physical education requirement to 1 credit hour for graduation. It is unfortunate that the President's Council's recommendation was leaked prior to the board's decision. And you know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart, right? Well, let's just say we used to handle leakers a little differently than we do now. Now that's shared governance.
We also received a tip that the decision was a hot debate within the Faculty Senate. So I reached out to the president of that group, and here's what she had to say. The state is not really involved with this on the institutional level. We made a decision a year ago to reduce the number of credits required for an associate's degree because our students simply weren't graduating in a timely fashion. We required technical colleges to reduce the associate degree curriculum to 70. How they go about this is not our purview. Speaking personally, I can say that I'm aware of the process at MCND, and the college seems to have followed that process, so we will accept their recommendation. Thank you. We also received a tip that the decision was a hot debate within the faculty senate, so I reached out to the president of that group, and here's what she had to say.
I heard you all were on campus, and I knew it would not be long before you'd be looking out for little old me, head of the faculty senate, to talk to you about how governance works at MCND. And our governance policies have 6 basic tenets. The first tenet is shared vision. All employees, all students, community members have the opportunity to participate in our strategic planning process. And from that, we develop a vision of how we want MCND to look moving forward. And then if ever we get stuck trying to develop a policy, we return to that shared interest, that shared vision. The second tenet is collaborative decision making. Now, a lot of people here on campus, they think that that means shared governance. But shared governance is a situation where everybody gets a chance to put in their little 2 cents, but then they're not the person who's held accountable and responsible for it. So if the policy fails, someone's head is rolling, and all these other people who shared in the governance, they're off skipping around in Happy Land. So we don't support that. We support collaborative decision making, which means being intentional about what Jim Collins called getting the right people on the bus, and then making sure that everybody has a chance to collaborate, but that the process begins with the people who are most directly impacted by the implementation of the policy. So in this case, it was a curriculum issue, and the faculty were the first group to review it because we're the ones who got to live with the thing. Now, the downside about collaborative decision making is that some faculty are just going to vote for something out of a sense of allegiance, of solidarity. And that's what happened in the case of this physical education vote. But then other people, they said, health and wellness class, we didn't have that when we were growing up, and we turned out just fine. So the students don't need to be required to take that class. So you had that group, and then you had the third group, which was let's let them get the physical education people, because if we don't, they'll be coming after our books and our English classes. So to protect ourselves, let's throw them to the wolves. You're going to always have people who have different views, but diverse groups are more productive. We know that. So we get diverse voices, we get the right people on the bus, and we move that process up from the people who are directly impacted, so that constituency group, up to the next group, which would be, for this case, like your deans and then your provost, your executive level, it goes to after that. The third tenet is respect for expertise. So one of the things that we require when a policy is being developed is that the person or the department has to write a brief for us with the pros and the cons and the other alternatives. So if this is a decision that's going to come from your department and you're the ones who are impacted, you're the experts who can give us the information. And then it's our job on the faculty senate to be able to read those briefs and make intelligent decisions. Fourth, there is an opportunity to be heard. So let's say that you don't like the decision that's made. You can appeal that decision. And you saw in this instance that the physical education department appealed that decision all the way up to the board. But the board will only hear it if in fact you can prove that the process was malfeasant or that the decision threatens mission, vision, values, or strategic goals. If it isn't those cases, then you just got to take your lumps. So you can see how it would be helpful for the faculty to come together and agree. Because if they agree, then that dean has to go along with that. And if he doesn't, he better have a hell of a good reason. Wait, we can say hell, right? A heck of a good reason to go against what the faculty have suggested. Then tenet number 5 is that we produce a key decision-making document that is posted on our internal website. And that key decision document explains the process that we followed, the alternatives that we considered, and just any information. And it's signed off by the faculty senate or whichever constituency group, and by the dean and by the provost for the board to take a look at it. And finally, and I think this is the most important tenet, consistent processes. Regardless of what the policy is, the process that it goes through must be consistent. So in this case, it was a curriculum policy, and so it went through the faculty senate and the dean and the provost. But it isn't always a curriculum issue, even though they tell us that faculty want more policies than anybody else or try to remove policies. But let's say it was a different policy. Let's say, like this office that's so cold, even though it's only October. Now, you probably would never guess, but I am not originally from Wisconsin. I'm not. And so these cold October days, they are not good to me. And so if I wanted a policy about when this daggone college turns on the heat, I could start that. That would not need to go through the dean, because the dean is not the authority for operations. It would go through the operations part of the governance council. So those are our 6 tenets, and they are part of a hybrid governance model. So that governance model has aspects of stay in your own lane and hierarchy, and that comes from the Carver policy governance model, but it also has aspects of cooperative governance model and a bunch of them. We looked at like 10 of these different models. And this hybrid was actually invented and created by 2 ladies who were on the faculty at that time. And they were pursuing their doctoral degree at one of those universities in Michigan. I can never think of the name of that school. It's something reminds you of like a carnival, like Carousel University or Merry-Go-Round University. I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me. I can't remember it. But in any case, they invented this model. They shared 10 different governance models with us and came up with this hybrid, just pulled a little piece of this, a little piece of that. And it has worked fine for us. Although the faculty, we have some hiccups because we have strong opinions. But the model works, and the process, when it is consistent, it works. And so it's a good process. And it was developed by good people. Those faculty went on to get their doctoral degrees. And one of them is now our president, President Galvan. We love her. And the other one, she has a high position, but I don't know what she does, honestly. Just kind of sits in her office with the door closed, doesn't talk to nobody, and good grief, don't dare try to give the woman a hug. That's just That's the last thing you want. Wait, this isn't live, is it? You need to edit that last part out.
Claudia, thank you for that comprehensive and thorough report on policymaking at MCND Community College. More on that later, I'm sure. Stay with us as we go to commercial break. When we come back, a video that has gone viral about one woman's appearance on divorce court after she learned that her graduate student husband wasn't going to the library after all. More after the break.